Yes, 20 or 3.
Yeah, you get
Wait a second, where's my salary?
one
I got
pager.
it. I got it.
It's just
Okay, we'll call the Public Works Committee meeting to order. First thing we need is approval of the prior committee meeting minutes. Moved by Supervisor Gerard, seconded by Supervisor Sokol. All of those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay, with that, I'll turn it over to Jeff.
Okay, Julie Butler had been here to handle the solid waste section. We brought it up last month. She sent a couple emails out asking for comments from the towns before we went ahead and extended those contracts. She said she had nothing but positive comments come back, so she couldn't stay for the meeting, but I told her I'd throw that out there, and our intent would be to go ahead and grant those extensions.
Okay, thank
That's all
you.
for solid waste.
Any questions from the committee on that? Supervisor Conover?
Yeah, just
Chairman?
in terms of household hazardous waste, which may I include that in the waste discussion. I know that we did it a couple of years, and then there was less, and we thought maybe we should skip. The idea was maybe we should do this every other year, or skip. But the more I thought about that, I think that really the whole idea is to have the stuff properly disposed of, and even though the volumes may be less, it would seem to me that this would be something that if we can see our way through to it, given the cost and whatever DC gives us, that we think about doing this every year, rather than anticipate or expect that people are not going to stockpile the stuff until because the calls keep coming in, what do I do about this, or what about that, what about this, and they don't really care that they missed last year's household hazardous waste disposal. They want to know how to get rid of it, and I think it really serves a purpose to do it every year. But I would just put that out there. I know that it requires a level of effort, Jeff. I know it's not an easy thing to manage, but I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I think the options that we discussed, I guess back in the spring or back beginning of summer, the way we have it right now budgeted is to proceed with one next year, but only do one location. So we can do every year both locations. We can do every year but one location, or we can skip the years like you mentioned. And I think the only real drawback is as the historical data is reviewed by bidders, their costs go up if they don't, because they're generating revenue off of what they collect. So they have an expense to bring the tractor trailer truck and a crew of 6 to 8 people up for the day, and we can, if we want to do that, if we want to do both locations next year, then we'll just have to make a couple adjustments in the budget as we've got it right now.
I mean, both locations, that's I see that more as a convenience matter, which is, that's important. But I think having it every year, I think is, if we can see our way through to that. I understand there may be things I'm not realizing sitting here today on the cost side or logistics.
A portion of it's refundable if you get the grant.
But I think having it, even if it's just one location, having it every year, because my experience is people call up, they've got something they want to get rid of, and they want to do it properly, but they want to get rid of it like within a reasonable time frame. We start saying to them, well, I don't have anything coming up for 2 years, we're skipping a year. That's not really working, it doesn't seem. And the whole idea is to keep this out of the environment, right? Have this stuff properly disposed of. And those are my 2 cents.
But that's what, right now, what we had planned on is one location for next year, and using the Queensbury location to the population center. So if the committee's good with that, that's the way
The other one was
it's planned.
Warrensburg, right?
Warrensburg, right, which is more geographically centrally located, but not population center-wise.
Well, at least then you can say to people that this is the place to go, and you got oil cans, you got whatever it is you got to get rid of that we do take. This is where you go, and then you advertise it, and then people know it's like on a schedule, they know, you know,
Every April or every May.
whatever, April when they're cleaning, whatever, this is, and they'll actually stockpile, right? People tell me that, they've told me that they actually set it off to the side, and then waiting for that date, waiting to know when, where, and then they take it.
Matt?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did I get confused? Are we looking to add another, or is Queensberry location every year, and then the other site is every other year?
So, we've done it 2 years in a row. We did 2 locations 2 years in a row. And because of the decline in really participation, we thought we could go with 1 location
Okay.
next year, and then I think we can reassess it, or we could do like what you're saying, we can look at it each year when we do the RFP.
So dollars and cents, what are we talking? Do we know?
I think this year we came in, I don't know, I forget what the numbers were. I think the first year we spent about $20,000, and we got reimbursed for half of it. And that went down this year, because it was, in the Warrensburg location, I think there was 30 cars that came in the entire morning, whereas the Queensberry location continued to have, over 100 cars come in.
So we will always spend 20 grand, but will the reimbursement change based on how much gets recycled, or is it always going to be 10 grand back?
The reimbursement is 50% of our actual expense, so we kind of budget, we have to budget for the entire thing, and then we budget a 50% revenue for the entire thing, but in the end, it's going to be actually whatever it was is what we submit to DEC for 50% reimbursement. So it's really not a budgeting, I mean, if we wanted to do 10 locations, I guess we could amend the budget and make that happen. In the end, all we're going to get is 50% of it for what we submit.
So are we satisfied with just 1 location, 18, and then we'll reassess it? Okay.
Okay, all for solid waste. We want to go into parks?
Right into parks.
Okay, the first item, Mr. Chairman, is I have Justin Gagno is here from Saratoga and North Creek Railway.
Good almost afternoon, Justin.
Almost afternoon, but I can still say good morning. So I want to lead off with an update on freight. SNC was successful in securing a contract for hundreds of storage cars that we are going to store on our line north of North Creek. This is very good news for the railroad. This will represent a significant income flow for us, which, as we all know, is something we've been needing. The storage cars are en route right now, so they'll be showing up probably within the next week. They are non-hazardous cars. Okay. Last month, we closed on a New York State DOT grant that will upgrade various railroad crossings on the line. Total amount for the grant was $129,500. This grant will go to help improve safety on Anton Mountain Road down in the town of Corinth, with the addition of gates on that crossing. That crossing is flashers only. It has bad vision on both of the approaches. It will add gates to that crossing, as well as LED lighting and upgraded electronics. The grant will also go to improve all crossings south of Anton Mountain Road with the replacement of the old flashers with new LED lighting on the masts as well as on the gates. This is part of a continuing commitment to improve crossing safety. It's the one known place where the railroad definitely interfaces with the public. The next crossing that we have that we're going to be going after to totally redo is Route 9N in Corinth. The work to begin on the other grant that we just got is going to begin in October. So all those new components will begin coming in. Also last month, I did a round of meetings with Wayne Lamoth and Sue Tucker with the First Wilderness Heritage Corridor. SNC will be providing $450,000 in grant matches for various projects on the First Wilderness Heritage Corridor. There's 7 of them. One is the update of the corridor market study. The second one is funding for the materials to replace public water lines and laterals in North Creek. Another project is the town study for a public wastewater system in the village of North Creek. Another component is the linkage between Chestertown and Pottersville, the 10.7-mile bike pedestrian path. The Town of Corinth Reservoir property, concurrent with the depot master plan and station design. The Stony Creek Community Center, which is going to utilize or see the rehabilitation of the historic United Methodist Church and construction of an addition to serve as a Stony Creek Library and community assembly space. And another thing listed as project oversight for Warren County through its planning department will provide administrative services for this project. The match for those grants was $450,000. The total awarded was $820,900. So where did that $450,000 come from? The funds that are being provided for the matches came from SNC payroll and SNC capital improvements to county properties. So this money was benefited 4 different ways. One, the money came out of the SNC payroll and capital funds to pay payroll and purchase the construction materials needed for these various project upgrades that all equate to the $450,000 match. Those funds went to employee paychecks, which allowed them to pay bills and spend money in the local communities. It then provided the catalyst for the grant match, which allowed the towns to get the grants that they had applied for and provide the necessary economic development that they were looking for behind the grants. This has opened the window to provide this to all communities in future development along the First Wilderness Heritage Corridor. So basically, dollar for dollar, if we are upgrading county infrastructures, whether it's in payroll or materials, we can take that same amount of money and apply it towards grants that towns in the First Wilderness Heritage Corridor that can use for grant matches, essentially eliminating the need for towns to come up with grant matches on their own. Last weekend we had NARCOA on property. That's the North Atlantic Rail Car Association. They came up with approximately 19 motor cars. This is the 4th year that we've hosted them on our property. On Saturday they went south to Saratoga Springs, and on Sunday they went north to Tahoe. It's always a good event. They're very happy to do it. They want to do it again next year. They travel to the area. They stay overnight for Friday and Saturday nights. So always happy to do that for them. The 2018 operations plan, I had hoped to present on that today. Marketing has asked me to hold off. My guess is between this meeting and next meeting, I would be able to give a written update on that, which I can provide to the DPW committee. The operations plans for 2018 does involve keeping the rail line open during the first quarter. That's the end of my report.
How are you making out on your trips this summer? Have you had much ridership?
The ridership...
Maintaining your runs?
What's that?
Are you maintaining your runs that you had scheduled?
Yes, we're maintaining the runs that we have scheduled. A few runs were canceled. Ridership is lower than it was last year, but I believe that is mostly due to the back and forth that we had late this spring with the operation plan itself. That isn't the intent to ever do something like that again. It was an unfortunate circumstance, and that's why we are well ahead of last year in terms of the 2018 operations plan.
Matt?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can we backtrack a little bit to those storage cars? What can you share with us a little bit more detail about that?
It's going to be several hundred storage cars. They're non-hazardous cars. Is there something specific that
Just a little bit more information.
I'd like to know, is it impacting your operations? How is that?
Hey, Claudia.
It will not impact the operations.
Yeah, Dan. We'll let you answer Matt's question first.
Okay. So, the storage cars come in, they're on a contract with the leasing company. We charge them a certain dollar each day that they're on our property, and essentially they sit somewhere and we collect revenue.
How long are they going to be sitting?
It's an open-ended contract.
Where are they coming from?
Various points in the U.S. They're coming from all over the place. It's coming from one company, but not one location.
And how does it impact your current operations?
Revenue. Income. Money.
Chairman Conover?
Just two questions. One, first question is short-term parking, long-term parking, and the second question is, I'm trying to think about what you have up there for storage. The storage that you're talking about, would it actually be on the main line itself?
No.
So it's all off the main line. So we're not going to have this string of 100 cars going down the line. It's all going to be taken off the offline storage.
Oh, yeah. None of the storage will occur on county property, and it will be out of view of the public.
Is it short-term or long-term?
It's open-ended, so it allows that type of flexibility allows the leasing company to bring cars in and out as they please.
Kevin?
Justin, will this have an impact on that rail riders if it's near, is it on the Tahoe's end of the line?
It is on the Tahoe's end of the line. It will not impact Revolution Rail, and they are aware that, this is happening.
How far up do they go?
Well, they lease between milepost 5, which is in North River, and milepost 18, which is in the town of Minerva. So they've got 13 miles of track, but it
won't
impact
that.
It will not impact their operations at all.
Now, who controls the Hanfield tracks over in the town of Corinth? At the old station in Corinth?
Yeah.
Yep. Who controls those sidings there?
Well, it's part of our
You guys
part of
do?
our lease. It's within the property that's owned by the
But
town of
none of
Corinth.
the storage will be there?
No.
There's a lot of room there.
Yep. But we're going to
Claudia?
we're going to keep it on our property.
All right.
Claudia? Did you have something?
Thank you. I think I'm looking at a map and stuff, he answered a lot of my questions. I guess one question I have for you too is we heard at our last school board meeting from the county treasurer that the most recent bills have not been paid.
Yes, so I've been having conversations with Mr. Garrity on that. I apologize on behalf of the company. I have made sure as of yesterday that the reporting for the months of July and August have been made available for the county treasurer. And I have also, in previous years, actually right up to this request, all of the billing from the county has gone directly to the corporate office in Chicago. I've never seen any of it. And with the issues that have come up in the last year, I have asked to be included on that reporting so that I can help push the issue.
Chairman Conover?
Yeah, I guess a couple of questions. One, if you could, does our existing lease agreement in terms of revenue sharing speak to this? And the second part would be what protects this from becoming a graveyard for cars, railroad cars?
So the protection of this becoming a graveyard for rail cars, the cars are owned by a leasing company, and this is viewed as, this is not indefinite. The company owns these cars. They don't want them just sitting around. It's costing them money to sit around. They only make their money when they are circulating, moving something.
It's cost prohibitive for what they're paying you. They could dispose of them at a lot less cost than...
Correct. Yes, absolutely. And, you know, they didn't buy these rail cars and have them constructed to just sit so they could pay for storage. They're supposed to be hauling materials, so, yeah.
Yeah, no, I just, that was literally...
So the lease agreement, in terms of cost sharing, any freight that's moved over the county line, the county receives a portion of. I'm not sure right now exactly what the language says, but yes, the county will receive a portion of that revenue.
Not the parking revenue. Or maybe the question would be to the sheriff. Would that include the parking revenue as well?
Well, it's not, they're not parking on county property. They're on the railroad's property north of where they lease from us, but the fact that freight is hauled over our line will entitle us to a share of the revenue.
Supervisor Gerard.
I just said, if there was first time I heard it, that you don't have control of all the lines, and it hinders your Polar Express for the amount of work you could do a lot more if you had better cooperation with another railroad firm. Am I addressing this correctly?
Yeah, Canadian Pacific Railway.
Is there any way you can, meet that obstacle? Is that just, is there any help we could give? Any involvement at all that would make a little bit of cooperation more fruitful in your revenue sourcing and to the actual ridership and things like the Polar Express? It's too complicated.
I think the short answer is no. I mean, we operate out of Saratoga Station. The first 1.1 miles of track is owned by Canadian Pacific, which is not part of this lease at all. I mean, it's theirs to do with as they please. So they can place limitations on, what we can do over that piece of property, as it would affect their operations as well. So obviously they have trains to operate just as we do. Thank you, though.
Well, I have got one question, Travis, and I'll come to you. What can you tell us about the Revolution Rail Riders? How is their ridership?
Their ridership is good. I think any updates on their business model would be best handled by them. I can certainly invite them to the next meeting, but I don't think they would be upset with me by saying that they had a very good summer.
Okay. Travis?
Yeah, if you could. Just to clarify, I believe that what you're saying is these hundreds of cars are going to be stored south of the Tahaz terminal on the main line. There is no extensive sidings available there.
That's incorrect. There is a 3-track yard and a Y up at the Tahaz as well as 2 sidings.
So you have enough, these will all be on sidings, and you could, if you wanted to, remove tailings from Tahaz without clearing these cars.
Correct.
Good. I do get a different story on the reasons for why people put these into storage, and the reason that I was given is that if you go ahead, this was for the tank cars, which you haven't said these are tank cars, but what was happening there was that if they had these ones destroyed, the tank cars destroyed, they would have to pay off the loans. They would have to take that hit on their bottom line for their businesses, etc. And what they found is that it was less expensive for them, or maybe better to not show their stockholders what was going on, to pay $4.50 a day to kick that can down the road and possibly destroy it, when the next CEO gets in there. But that is, these once they go into storage, they're likely to be in storage for a significant period. As you said, it's open-ended. You can't really tell. It could be in there a week, it could be in there 5 years. Is that true or not true?
Okay, so you brought, and I'm sorry, what, your...
The number of
No, what's your name?
Mine's Travis White.
Travis, okay. Just wanted to address you by name, that's all. So, you brought up a couple points there. Yes, when we brought up the storage of the oil cars a number of years ago, there was a case where the funding for the construction of those oil cars had not been realized. It's no different than any one of us going and purchasing a vehicle from a car dealership. Just because we don't have a use for the vehicle anymore, if we're still in the midst of the financing, you can't just destroy it and get rid of it. So because there was a lien on these cars, those cars did have to go and live somewhere. My understanding is that that's not the case with these cars. They're, oil cars are just one example of hundreds of types of rail cars that are owned by leasing companies. As freight shipments fluctuate, going up and down, leasing companies find themselves with a need for these cars to live somewhere. Leasing companies themselves generally don't own railroads and don't have the property to park these cars on, so they look towards other railroads that do have capacity to store them, which obviously, we had some capacity and we were more than willing to do it because it's revenue for us.
So you have a similar relationship with Santa Cruz County, and I'm looking at a article that was published in July 24th, 2017, and they're talking to the county officials, and they're saying they have Iowa Pacific in there storing on their tracks, and that they have not received the payments from them, and this is not unusual for Iowa Pacific, but they've never been in arrears as long a period of time. So it seems like they have similar experiences with Iowa Pacific and Santa Cruz as they have here. Did you clarify, does that revenue, do we get a percentage of that revenue? I didn't quite catch that.
I believe the attorney did clarify that freight moving over the line would allow the county to capture a portion of the revenue, yes.
Percentage of that $4.50 or whatever it happens to be a day per car.
Not for storage.
Not for storage.
Not for storage.
Well, and the reason behind that, the county...
Right, that's on their own land, being stored on the railroad's own land.
...prohibits us from long-term storage
But
of
I
rail
thought
cars
that
on county
when you
property.
move a car across the line, we get a piece of that, right?
That's my understanding. And
Yeah, when we move a piece, when we move the car to Haas Line, which they own, we would get so much for the movement of that car across the line that's owned by the county. I think that's last time, my recollection, last time.
Freight, if it's
I
freight.
don't know.
Do we know what that?
I can't, I just remember we went all through that one.
It's a per car rate.
I thought it was $5,
I thought
but
it was
maybe,
part-
I thought it was $5 a car, but I can't.
500 in and 500 out,
That would be a one-time fee. It's interesting, and you may want to look at that article that's in there about Santa Cruz County. There's some disagreement between Iowa Pacific and their understanding of whether these cars, and there's pictures of them, they're all tanker cars, hundreds of them, they said, and that whether they're in storage or not, and the contention of Iowa Pacific is that they're not in storage, they're in route, and yet they've been sitting there for quite some period of time, but they're en route. And for some reason, that changes the payment. So there's some arguing going on there, all above my head, above my pay grade. But it's an interesting article just the same to go ahead and read.
Anything further from the committee? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Chairman. The next item is,
I want to do one more thing while we have Ben here. Ben, would you like to speak to us?
I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with the glamping outfit in Warrensburg at the fairgrounds. Anyone not familiar with it at all?
We're all familiar.
The APA has kind of given us the go-ahead to keep running it without a permit, but now we're
Hello?
to apply for the APA permit, and I just wanted to bring it up to the committee and see if there were any questions or concerns about going forward with applying for the APA permit, doing this in further years.
We were going to go out for an RFP, I believe, and did we accomplish that?
We have not gone out with one yet.
No. But the idea is that regardless of who the successful bidder is, that we would pursue a permit with the APA.
Correct. Yeah. The permit would run with the land regardless.
Frank?
Why do we need a permit from the APA?
Technically, it's a violation of the APA's regulations right now because we're so close to river. So, we're within Wild River land. It's right on the street.
This is commercial camping, I think is the
It's because of the commercial.
commercial
campground.
business.
It's for profit. Yeah.
Probably wetlands.
Okay, do we need a resolution for that?
We already had one.
Okay, we're all set. Okay. Thank you, Ben.
Okay, next item is simply on page 1, this is a request to increase our capital, or our petty cash fund. This is just cash we keep on hand for transactions with the public.
Okay, moved and seconded already. Supervisor Sokol made that motion, Supervisor Gerard seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next item is on page 2, this is just a notice of our Up Yonder trunk or treat. This is an event where members of the public decorate their cars and then dish out candy from their trunks. So that's been a success, so just want to make the committee aware of that. And then the next item I wanted to make the committee aware of and see if we need to take any further action on is a request from Greater Glens Falls Transit to establish a trolley stop at Up Yonder. I pulled up the aerial because the one in the packet didn't really come up very well. But this is an aerial view of Up Yonder Farm. The intent is that they would use this as a northern point for their run and come in one drive, do a loop, and come back out. So this just literally just came up. They want to establish this for next year, but I think we want to just maybe refer to the county attorney to see if we need to establish some type of memorandum of understanding or a contract with them to be able to. Greater Glens Falls Transit.
Trolley. Just do a license agreement, we'll review it.
So if the committee can authorize a license agreement, we'll proceed with that unless there's any concerns.
Make a motion.
Take the mass transit to Up Yonder Farm.
Okay, we got a motion made by Supervisor McDonald. We have second, Supervisor Sokol. Do you have,
Yeah, any liability issues with this?
I think that's what we want to sort out in that
Okay,
agreement. Right.
any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, I'll do. So that's all I have for Parks and Recs. The next, if we want to move on to DPW.
Sure.
I just want to say, Jeff, just to let everybody know, at Up Yonder, that new butterfly exhibit was just tremendous. And to see those kids actually in there with the butterflies flying all around them is just a marvelous thing to witness. If we haven't had a chance, I don't know what the season is, but if you haven't had a chance to see it, we were there during the Soil and Water meeting, Conservation District meeting, and there were actually, I don't know, maybe 6 kids right in the building, and it was just what a sight. Somebody should really, photography should really get a picture of that. It was a nice looking building, but also the program was just tremendous.
Yeah, and that, if you're there, that was designed and constructed in-house. So that was,
That's why I bring it up. It's something to behold, really.
Okay.
if we want to move on to DPW, the first 5 pages are all relative to the same project. What we'd like to do is close out a capital project, H300, the fuel system upgrades. That's an older project. We've expended almost all the monies. We want to close that out, move the money. There's approximately $8,500 left. We got to do several of these resolutions to get the money moved from the budget, or from the project back into our A9950 code, which is transfers to capital project. That's on page 2. On page 3, we want to establish a new capital project, H374. This is for the Warrensburg Fuel Farm at the DPW shop in Warrensburg. That's for $148,000. That's our estimate to do new fuel island, new piping, and other appurtenances on those tanks, similar to what we did out here, except at that location we had both diesel and gasoline. And then we want that work is out to bid now, and we want to be able to award to the new contractor, or to the contractor. That's on page 5. request for a new contract.
Would you like to move all 1 through 5?
I would like to.
Okay, Supervisor Gerard, second by Supervisor Sokol. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Those funds are out of a reserve that is collected for the 16 cents a gallon that there's 39 agencies that participate with our fuel system. So that's where that's all coming from, just so everyone's aware. Okay, on page 6 is a request for transfers. This is for various road projects.
Can I raise one question before you vote? Can you identify the town? I've asked this before, that the roads are in. I mean, I've asked it before, and, like CR18, well, I can figure it out. But can you just put, when you identify a project, can you just add the town to where it is? Like Sagamore Road, I know that's in Boat Landing.
Yep.
But can you just put Boat Landing in there when you do this stuff? On the description, can you just change the description so it prints out the town, please? That would be handy.
Thank you.
I'll move that, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, carried.
On pages 7, 8, 9, and 10 are all requests for backfill. The first 3 are for motor equipment operator lights. These are CDL positions in my highway division. And the 4th one is request to backfill due to promotion for a building maintenance worker position that was recently vacated in Parks and Recs. I'll move all of them.
Okay, moved by Supervisor Gerard, seconded by... Anybody there? Supervisor Sokol. I'll call the question. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, carried.
So I have on my items to report all the way at the bottom, I have the overtime report and the fuel usage report. The other 2 things to discuss are the 2018 road projects, which I forgot to hand out. Somewhere here I have a draft list, so I will get that to everybody. And then we can start the budget review.
We're going to need a executive session. So I want to make sure. Yeah, we can. We need an executive session to discuss the performance of a particular contractor.
Want me now?
Can we do it now, while everybody's here, and then need support?
Move it.
5 votes, Mr. Chairman, for that executive session.
Okay.
You got just 5 people.
Just have 5 people, so we need everybody to raise their hand if they're in favor.
Couldn't hear you.
We need you, are you in favor of executive session? Thank you. It's unanimous. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Executive session.
Rachel and I do.
I think that's good.
It's nothing to do with...
Back in regular session.
I gotta tell her that.
She knows.
She doesn't.
Well, Rachel doesn't know about lights.
The last items were to review, I just wanted to make the committee aware that we do have a draft road project plan out for next year, and really decisions on the exact projects can come out at a later date. On the county website is the full pavement evaluation report, and so that's been out for a little while. See that close. And so that's out there for comments from any committee members or anyone else. Hasn't changed. And now we can get into budget review if you like.
Jeff, can you put the towns with the roads?
Let me get those
They
back.
are on the...
You did?
There is.
What's the matter with you, Don?
I'll write them in right now for you.
Well, I can tell you're from Queensbury. You can't spell Warrensburg.
GH, right?
Huh? I refuse. I'm not signing anything that has to do with this abuse I've been taking. What is today?
20th.
You've even lost a day.
Thank you, everyone, for staying. Around overtime.
So, it's only about 100 pages, and we can go through as much detail as anybody wants.
Hour $14.90.
No, just close it. Does anybody got any questions?
That's great.
Rachel's got.
$14.90 is our core admin budget.
Just do the summary.
This includes all my admin staff in the main office and our major admin expenses for that office.
I would be happy if you just point out significant changes and the reasons why.
Okay.
If that's,
The committee's good with
is
that.
that all right with the committee, Rachel, or? and then-
I'm not on the
She's not on the committee, but...
But I just
But I mean, go ahead.
I'll have questions.
This budget's been vetted twice by the budget officer.
Yes,
And the chairman.
from real vetting people. Sometimes he wants to know. I should call.
There's no significant changes on this portion of the budget, on the $14.90. The next section is 1626. This is actually the Westbrook parking lot, which, you know, as you can see, brings in, you know, it's been bringing in about 6 figures a year in revenue into the general fund since we built that. And the only thing we charge back on the expense side is we started charging some of our DPW time to do it because it's non-highway. So we charge equipment and labor when we set the meters or have to do any repairs or anything like that.
We should call you Mayor Tennyson. You've learned from Bob Blaze.
So the other thing that this, on the revenue side, is we bring in not only the parking meter revenues, but for special events next to the parking lot, we lease it. We do exclusive lease for adjacent events. And we contract with the village. They keep 10% of the cash proceeds for just doing the daily checks on those meters and collecting cash and changing the meter paper and things like that. Really nothing, that one's net positive. This is the Vitro Parking Lot, which is another county-owned parking lot, but we contract with the village. Essentially, they do the majority. The only time we've had expenses is when a meter's gone down, we've had to replace a meter. We do a cost sharing with the village, and they keep, on this one, they keep 75%, and the county gets 25%. So we just carried forward those numbers, but that's net positive for the county as well.
1628.
1628, this is our waste management code. We have some staff time to essentially is full-time repairing, painting, and welding. We did include in this a request for some additional containers. So we want to buy another 30-yard container and 2 40-yard containers as part of this budget, just to keep our inventory of containers revolving. They do get to a point where you can't repair them anymore. There's more welded steel on them than there is original steel. Any questions there? Okay. 7110 is Parks and Recs code. No significant changes there. Rachel had a question.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Am I on the right one, the 7110? Is that what you're on right now?
Yes.
Under the actual amount, under Parks and Rec charges, under the income,
Which number are you?
Revenue side?
revenues, yeah, 2001. It just, that amount stuck out to me. I'm just looking for notes for what it was.
Fairgrounds pavilions, stations, reservations and use fees. We didn't include any revenue for glamping for next year, although the discussion earlier was that we would be doing an RFP. I'm not sure whether the We thought originally the glamping contractor was going to come back in and ask for an extension under their existing terms, but I don't think it's been as profitable as they anticipated.
So some of that is the glamping revenue, that 26,000?
The amended, yeah. That was 22,000.
Oh, so that's why you're
Yes,
not
that was the big
projecting
chunk,
that
right.
out.
Right.
Okay.
So our normal revenue is something in that,
34.
we had 5,000 in there, but I guess in 2016 with no glamping was 3575.
Okay.
We did increase some revenue, or we did increase some fees for the bike rally. Some of those fees are going up, so I think that's where our projections kind of increased a little bit for some of the other events. Any other questions on Parks and Rec? This is, the next one is 7111, this is up beyond the farm. This has been near to budget neutral with the revenue off of the Scott Family Trust that funds that, and the revenue from the town of Bolton, both core town revenue and some OCTAX revenue from the town, and a little bit of OCTAX from the county.
You'd give me the number, Rachel.
Okay, so under this one for 410, just if you amended the budget to include the 13,000 in supplies, you spent 10,000 to date. Why are you only asking for 890 going forward? I mean, that's...
Yeah, end of last year, we moved some money to buy material for the butterfly garden. So that was a end of year where we scoured some money out of some other codes. It was about a $9,000 material expense for the butterfly garden. That's what was amended into that budget.
You don't foresee those expenses going forward?
We don't have any construction like that planned for next year. I think, as I recall, I transferred that through board resolution because we didn't do it in code transfer. I went through board resolution and we moved it out of one of our buildings and grounds codes to buy the material.
So that would be in like that packet we got with all the inter transfers?
No, that would have been, it went through committee because it wasn't an in-code transfer, it was an out-of-code transfer from, I think we took it from A1620 from buildings and grounds, and we had some extra building material funds that we liquidated there and moved it in so that we can build that. Any other questions on Up Yonda? These next couple codes are just Up Yonda bed tax codes. They have to be tracked separately, so that's been the convention we've been using. And you see in here, we got, let's see, some revenues listed here somewhere. Yeah, Bolton OCTAX, Warren County OCTAX.
So Warren County OCTAX, was that in that chart that Dennis provided the other day?
No, I noticed it wasn't there.
So there's no budget then
Warren
for it
County,
moving forward?
I think Warren County has their own discretionary funds outside of that.
That's gone.
Okay, so the Warren County's gone. So it wasn't in this chart.
Then there's no money going to be dedicated to it for next year.
Right.
It's on its own.
So shouldn't that say zero then for...
I didn't find this out till yesterday.
Yeah, and even what we did give an OCTAX to the county
was over what we have the money to do.
Right.
we didn't do that every year.
Last year we did it for the butterfly house.
Oh, no, that just shows
No,
that
no,
we took
no.
that out of taxpayer.
Yeah, we took that.
We didn't. Yeah.
How they tracks its way back, right?
Yeah, 'cause that wasn't in that chart from the other day, so how does this get amended then? Bolton gives the 10 grand, I guess, and Warren County, that goes zero?
We'll have to go to the OCTAX committee and ask for money.
You're not going to get it
No, he
because
said he's
there's
not
no
doing
money.
it.
We get 20.
Right, there's 20 and there's 10,000 out of Bolton General Fund, right?
Right.
So what happened end of last year was the OCTAC request had been rejected, and that's why we did that transfer at the end of the year. We went back and found money in another code and did a transfer through the board. But there's been that Warren County OCTAX has been pretty consistent, because I have to sign a contract with tourism every year for that.
I'm trying to think, I can't seem to remember exactly how they went to it. They go to a county event?
It was requested as a county event, it was denied, and the discussion, if I'm recalling correctly, saying up yonder is a county facility, the county should fund it with our own revenue, not use our funds. I think that's how it then ended up being paid out of general fund, not the contract. There was a request for that.
So that's why we got,
But I'm locked out now, but we can, I guess, refer that to the budget team. If that's I guess it's in Frank's hands at this point anyway, but. So we'll just follow up with the budget team and then.
so that department request, 10,000 of that comes from Bolton, so it's not from, no, but for this specific one, 10, right?
Yeah, there's two different codes. There's
Yeah.
one for the OCTAX, and then there's another,
For a different one.
the other one is in our other core budget.
Well, maybe Bolton wants to pick up the full 13.
What do you say, Mr. Conover?
Go ahead. Oh, Frank.
Yeah, here's the other 10,000. It's in the core code, because that's general fund out of Bolton. So they're putting in 20,000 total.
It's getting dark, Rachel.
Oh, goodness.
So without that, it just goes to tax levy, because we are over, right now, we are over the amount of the trust, the Scott Family Trust. That's contributing $185,000, so $185,689. I don't know if you can see my cursor there in the center there. That is the projected revenue for the family trust.
Maybe they can tell more.
Any other questions on up yonder? The next one is the Snowmobile Grant. That's simply money in, money out. So the state tells us how much money the snowmobile clubs are going to get, and we amend the budget. The money comes in the county and then gets paid back out to the snowmobile clubs.
Oh.
Yep.
Are they allowed to use the tracks during the winter, the
No.
snowmobile?
No.
I mean, if we aren't going to have a railroad and a train running on it.
Right, and that's why I keep bringing it up, because we do have, like, the Thurman Connection makes a request every year
Yeah.
if we can use portions of the tracks out there.
Right.
He just said that he needed it for first quarter, right? First quarter, they were gonna store those.
That's
They're
crazy.
still supposed to be doing the ski train. They're still supposed to be doing the ski train, huh?
Can Brian, when you look at that, will you look at the snowmobile usage too?
I'm sorry, what?
In order to
Gonna run the
just,
ski trains, can do that.
Yeah.
Snowmobile clubs use the tracks.
they would have to close the line to do that. They wouldn't be able to do it in between railroad runs. It would have to be, okay, we're shut down
Yeah.
from this day to another day in order, but frankly, at this point, it could be very difficult for the clubs to make the modifications they need to. They'd have to get going in a hurry to modify the bridges and other things
I'll look at
before
it.
the first snow falls.
I may be reverting here a little bit, but on the Westbrook parking lot, the 120,000, what you don't take for administrative charges, the difference goes where?
General fund,
Goes to general.
yes.
And,
Water, I knew it.
okay.
We are still carrying some debt on that, but that's coming out of the core budget, DPW budget. But the revenue goes back to the general fund and adds to that total pot.
Rachel, on that snowmobile question, Justin said that they are gonna start those operations of storing those cars first quarter, which includes January.
So I said, why can't we object to that? But whatever, I'm
Why couldn't you want it?
Brian said he'll look into it. You don't want me to get going on that.
Okay.
But I do have a question about the railroad budget when we get there.
Yeah.
So what's the salaries for the railroad?
We include a portion of our Director of Parks and Recs and our building maintenance mechanic, who are really the two individuals that have the most interaction with the railroad. So they're the ones that go out and check the performance or when there's issues that come up. So we're actually offsetting a percentage of their salaries. So if you look at the core Parks and Recs budget under 7110, does not include all of the salaries for all the Parks and Recs guys. Those two individuals that are really administering the contract for the railroad, a portion of their salaries is offset by the railroad revenue.
And they report to you on whatever
Right.
checkup and...
Right.
So I just want to point out, though, that my prediction is that the Aviator restaurant will create more revenue than the airport next year. Like, that's the revenue we got from the railroad?
What the hell?
Well, the railroad
Aviator
guaranteed
restaurant.
revenue is somewhere around 81,000.
The airport, we get 73,000.
But I mean the increase from the Aviator. 31,000,
Well,
it
the
says here.
Aviator-
No, there's,
32,181.
Then leave it alone, Dan.
Nope.
Then leave it
After
alone.
the dark comment, I figured I'd throw that one back. That was all.
okay, we still got 58 more pages to go, please.
The next one is into the next one is
Are you open
into
yet,
our.
Focal?
You want to move on? The next one is in our into our road D fund. First one is traffic control. This is my sign maintenance shop and some of our other ancillary contract expenses for striping and other things. Any questions on any of these codes? Okay, the next code is D5010, which is highway admin. A lot of this has been scoured out in recent years and reallocated under other codes. The biggest thing that comes in here is the state revenue for CHIPS, extreme weather recovery, and Pave New York funding sources. We're not budgeting right now for the extreme weather recovery money that we've gotten the last 2 years. Right now, we're just budgeting a flat level for CHIPS and a flat level for Pave New York.
Can we go back to the summary page on 5010?
Yep.
So, Dan says as the supervisor going through the budget here and thinking about allocation. So, no salaries, but you have employee benefits. Okay, so there's some sort of allocation.
Yeah, that's the retiree benefits. So what used to happen was the highway admin code was all covered under road fund, but it included Betsy's senior account clerk, it included my word processing operator, who's really kind of my front desk person, my timekeeper, and it included all of the expense for the core admin building in Warrensburg. But that admin building supports all the divisions, A code, D code, DM code, so it really was, what it was doing was overinflating our highway expense and really making it look like we had all these admin people that's all they did was highway. So a couple years ago, we split it out into DPW admin, which is a general fund code, not specific to highway or anything else. And that's why that all those expenses went to zero. So they just shifted from one spot to another.
We're looking at legacy costs here.
Legacy costs, right. If you go to the 800s, you'll see it's retiree expense. So. Yeah, there you go. Retiree right here, all under one code. And then,
When you show on the Westbrook account, 35,000 in obligations, and you show that revenue, that revenue's in the budget, at the end of the year, was fall to the general fund, but, how's that affecting your, is it overstating revenue in the overall
Losing a
departmental
core.
budget?
if anything, it's probably overstating expense, because we budget that money so that if we need to do a repair down there, or we need to send highway guys to do something, they, snow and ice control, or setting the meters, we've got that expense budget of the 35,000. The revenue is gonna far exceed that, we know that. It's gonna be net positive to the county.
I'm talking about the 35,000, I'm saying, on the revenue side, you're not showing, let's say, 35,000, right, you're showing 120. So what ends up happening is, when you add up all your departments, you're also adding that 120 as a total into your revenue. You're not just adding the 35 against the expense, you're adding all 120 on the revenue side. So in a sense, what we're doing is because there's no intention to transfer that money for any reason. We're actually overstating. We're stating the revenue.
I guess to the standpoint that some of my budget is covered by tax levy, then it offsets that, right? So it would be different if all of my other codes were neutral, right? Or there wasn't any other general fund in the department, because but the budget crosses multiple lines. It crosses all the general fund lines, and
That's what I'm trying to think about the implications of normally you have 100, your revenue is less than the expense, right? In this instance, you have the revenue greater than the expense.
with that one code, right?
That one
But
code.
overall, my general fund expense is higher than that little bit of revenue. So I,
But she's not going into a reserve that we're anticipating it's going to fall to the fund balance, right?
but it's reducing the tax levy for this year,
Right.
for 2018, it's reducing the tax levy because I'm using all of that money in, like, all my A codes for this building, and so the next code is engineering. This is my highway engineers, all the entire engineering division, and it's all carried under the highway division, incidentally, but we have this was really the last area we weren't charging for other functions, so we're going to start doing that, which I haven't included in this budget. The revenue, we're going to start generating some revenues in engineering that'll be back charges against things like my guys out here organizing this pavement, that's not highway work. My engineers are carried under the highway budget, so we're going to start back charging projects and other codes for that kind of work. So
Courthouse.
courthouse is a big one for the next 3, 4, 5
Airport.
years. Airport to some degree, and essentially any time they're used outside of highways, we'll be back charging. I haven't included that in the revenue, so that might be something, but I also haven't included the expenses in the other core budget codes.
And so we, as DPW, we know why the engineering is what it is, that it's not all to administer construction of roads or DPW operations.
It's not all roads and bridges, right?
Yeah.
It's,
So,
everything.
Yeah. So Jeff, so when you do those back charges, basically the other departments who you are charging, let's say it's facilities, they know that they're figuring in that it's their budget.
Yeah, it's much easier for the departments within, or the divisions within my department, because that all goes through Betsy. So we already do that now. So if highway personnel are here working on this campus, my highway division generates a revenue, the Betsy we back charge within DPW. It's more difficult, frankly, when there's outside departments that have that want to be assisted, whether it's, the sheriff's department, or we've helped the West Mount in the past, when they were running a project. We've got, the Warrensburg Sewer Project, that 2 miles of force main, and the work on Countryside, none of it is highway work, so that their involvement would get back charged against the project. I don't think it's a bad thing that we're not really showing the revenue right now, but it'll show going into next year with some actuals. We might have to do some budget amendments throughout the year to account for the revenues coming back in. But I guess to the extent, if there's other departments, or there's other departments outside of DPW that have projects that they anticipate the DPW engineers are going to assist with, then they should have something in their budget or in their projects to be able to back charge against. In the end, it's net zero for the county, because whatever is a new increased expense for an outside department is offset by a new revenue on the highway side. So in the end of the year, it's net zero. It's more of just accurate budgeting. And it's highway law, frankly. Highway law says highway funds go to county-owned roads, county-owned bridges. Any other questions on engineering? D5110, this is my core highway operational code. So this includes my entire highway division, which is six construction crews during the summer. We've got 4 main crews, and then we reorganize each summer, and all of that equipment. Some of these codes are actually going to go down a little bit. There's some salaries. There's three positions that are being deleted, and 1 more position that needs to be unfunded. So some of these are going to go down. It's just with the budget officer's recommendation, that'll happen, but it's not something we can do at this point. So our numbers are actually going to go down significantly. No real significant changes with any areas in the highway side, other than those reduced salaries. Oh, and the reallocation that was just passed on Friday, that's not included in here yet, so that'll have to be added back in for a lot of the highway positions.
So the 100 will increase because of the reallocation?
Yes, right. Right. Okay, the next code is D5112. This is our road project code. That's why I gave you a draft list. You really don't need to break out the projects yet, but that can be done at a later date when we establish which projects we're going to do next year. There's really not much to talk on that one. The next code, D5142, is snow removal. So that's for county road snow removal. And this is a portion of our salaries. So we take a percentage of our highway personnel salaries and apply to this. And then each year that adjusts a little bit, where we only charge to snow and ice our actual snow and ice salaries based on our time clocks. So they do the staff does a different project code or a job code when they're doing snow and ice control in the wintertime versus doing normal highway maintenance. Other than that, no real big changes on it. Next one is D5148. That's services to other governments. That's where we back charge for primarily paving. We back charge a percentage of our expenses to the towns if we pay for them. transfers for debt service. This is given to us by the treasurer's office. This is some of the various debt centers based on prior bonds. Transfers capital projects. We're actually funding our capital projects here end of this year, so we don't need additional funds going into next year. So we're going to be bringing, we're going to be doing a
We'll see you, thanks.
transfer request probably next month to move money out of completed projects into projects for next year. So as long as that passes, then this number will remain zero going into next year. I have a similar one for A9950, which is our transfers for non-highway capital projects. Now we're into our machinery budget, DM 5130. This is my machinery shop up in Warrensburg.
Did you get that, Rich?
Yeah, I already looked it up.
The biggest line items in here are automotive equipment, which we're remaining flat with our request for replacement equipment. This budget carries all of the repair costs, all of the fuel and vehicle related and equipment related expenses for the entire DPW, not just highways or not just the machinery shop. It's all funneled through our machinery code. Any questions on that one?
One question. Your revenues on that one?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, some of it is scrap steel, some of it is sale of auction vehicles, and then we also generate some revenue by doing repairs for other departments like the sheriff's department or public health. Those are probably our two bigger customers, with all the nurses' vehicles and major repairs on the sheriff's department vehicles. No, I wish. That's the internal rental. So that's an internal back charge. So we've got about a $10 million fleet in the entire department. That's all the divisions: buildings, parks and recs, highway, airport, everything. So that is all of those expenses are carried under DM, but we back charge a rental rate to those individual divisions. So that is the revenue. That line right there is the revenue that is an expense for all the individual DPW divisions.
Matt?
I just had a question. When Cynthia leaves in 5 minutes, who's going to adjourn the meeting?
I don't know.
We're almost
Not gonna be able
done.
to-
We could be done. The motor fuel farms,
Chairman of the board.
Oh, so we might be here. Well, right.
What?
I said we might be here then.
We might, yeah.
The motor fuel farms code was established specifically for the 8 fueling sites in the county that there's 39 different agencies that utilize, from schools to OES to fire, ambulance, town highway departments. We've got a lot of users. So this is the revenue and expense code that covers our salaries for repair and maintenance and inspections, because we maintain all of those fuel sites. We have some contractual money where if it's major repairs or significant repairs, we'll bring in outside contractor help. Our employees essentially do minor replacements and filter changes, and then do the tank inspections and monitoring of those types of routine maintenance. The revenues are there's a 16 cents a gallon charge for outside agencies that we bill all those 39 agencies, and then that money goes into a DM reserve, motor fuel farm reserve. By By the way, earlier in the committee, we just moved a bunch of money out of that reserve to do a fuel system upgrade up in Morrisburg. Any questions on those? There are some, we pay some of the towns to have county tanks at the towns, so you see that, it's $1,200 each. Any questions on the code? This is more transfers to debt service. This is some of the, I don't think we didn't list them in the notes, but this is one that if you look at the treasurer's monthly report on the debt service, you'll see a listing of the various capital project bonds that were done or equipment bonds that were done in years prior, so that's where that expense is carried. Industrial Park Sewer, this is a pass-through in conjunction with the Washington County. That's it. We didn't quite make it to page 100, but 99.
So we can't adjourn, right? Can't adjourn. We're done. Need 5.
We'll just wait till someone shows up.
We need 5.
No, I can't, I don't count.
He's not on the committee.
I was gonna make some motions. Yeah, it's vacant, right? You have a vacant? You have a vacant spot?
No, we don't.
No, can't do it.
Well, at least we have a couple of committee members still there.
Pizza's coming when? 4:35?
Hmm?
The pizza's coming 4:35.
You want pizza? I can stay here. till-
Thank you.